Hey everybody, welcome back to the SilverSilk and More channel. I've got a really cool project for you today because it's so easy to make, takes no time at all. It's a quick technique that you can apply to really any sort of bracelet form, even if it's not silver silk, can definitely be used in the same way. And it uses very few materials. So these are all different ingredients that make, for me, like the perfect design, and it's stress free, even better. So, I'm going to walk you through a series of steps within the technique. But before we get to that, I'm going to flash to you the project real quick. And I'm going to go ahead and point down toward my table and give you guys a very specific materials list, tools and materials, that is, while I'm stuck here in the little corner. Alrighty. So let's talk about our tools. We're going to need a pair of chain nose pliers that look like this. We are going to need a pair of round nose pliers that look like this. We're going to need a pair of cutters. Got my handy dandy Lindstrom cutters on the go. And then we're going to need a pair of wide nose pliers for our silver silk findings. And so this is sort of my standard set. I don't think we'll actually need the round nose pliers, but I kind of just like to have them on standby. You never know. Let's talk about our bracelet materials because this is the ingredients which will make our bracelet come to life. So the first thing is our silver silk knitted wire chain. This stuff is amazing. Here I've used 6 needles to machine stitch over leather cord. The leather cord is 2.5 millimeters in diameter. And so the knitting on top sort of adds an extra layer of diameter on top, and it makes the size overall 3 millimeter. These cords are fantastic. I can't even tell you how many color combinations I've come up with in my head that I can't wait to bring to real life one day. And with the different pop-up shop iterations that I've been doing over on the Silver Silk and More website, that's when I think the creativity really happens, and I get to show it off. Not only show it off, but then let you guys also have it as a 3-foot spool. So this one uses a tan colored leather cord with a antique copper. I believe that's on top, or is it antique brass? No, it's antique copper. Sometimes I can't tell the difference. You're really looking for that sort of slight reddish tint in the wire, which makes it the antique copper. Um, Again, it's sold as a 3-foot spool. It's got an extremely great structure to it. It's not as drapey as the other chains, I will say, but it is great if you're doing a bracelet that has a very specific form or a curve that you need. This stuff is the bomb. So I have some out here for the side. You'll really only need 1 foot of it, or less, actually. But you've got all that 2.5 feet maybe left over that you can do anything else with. So I'm gonna have that out to the side, and then a couple of silver silk end caps that look like this. So these are the single strand end caps. They have little teeth on the inside to grasp onto whatever you're putting in. Typically, we've been using this for capture and pearlesque chain, but as a matter of fact, you can use it with the leather chain. It works the same way. It's perfect for it. In fact, the teeth grip onto the wire texture and it still holds it in place, especially when you're using the wide nose pliers to sort of crunch everything into place. Real quick, this is a live show, so I'm catching some of the comments. Hi, everyone that's tuning in. Thanks so much. And if you could give a quick share to your bead groups out there, that would be awesome. Or after the video is posted for those of you in the future, if you wouldn't mind sharing this video, if you enjoy the content, that would be amazing. Anyway, back to the tutorial. So I got 2 end caps with me. They have the silver silk stamp on it. That's how you know that they are indeed silver silk. This is in the antique gold color, by the way. Beautiful, beautiful finish. And that's sort of the rustic palette that I'm working with today. I've got a magnetic clasp with me. I don't have this in the store per se, But I do have the lobster claw, which is a great clasp backup for this sort of design. I like magnetic for bracelets. They just have a very ease of putting it on, I guess is what I'm trying to say. They're easy to put on. That's what I was trying to say. And so I just have a bunch of these that I purchased from either big box stores or other of my friends' sites in the bead world. So I'm going to use that today. And then I've got a couple jump rings. You can see there. And now we get to talk about the beads because I've got this great 9 millimeter bead. I say 5 to 7, give or take. It's kind of one of those things that, like, this particular type of bead, because this is a water buffalo horn bead, it's very irregular. So within even the bead set that you get, you might end up getting something that is between 7 to 9 millimeter. And so you want to be definitely under the 10 millimeter mark for this particular technique. Otherwise, it's going to just end up being too heavy of a figure eight that we're going to be creating. These happen to be very lightweight, and they're just small enough to pull this technique off. And so I recommend grabbing some of those. And then finally, some gemstones. So I grabbed this from my Tucson stash. Isn't this absolutely stunning? I just uploaded these to the pop-up shop over on silversilkonline.com, and they are a must-have. I found these and it was love at first sight because it's in my color palette, first of all. You could tell very much a green and teal kind of guy. It's got some beautiful blues in there, but it's also that gradient finish that's just very amazing. So all 16 inches is what we'll be using to construct our design. And so I've got some set out here to the side that I'm going to roll over very carefully. And this is what we're going to be using for creating just a singular component. And then I'm going to show you guys how to construct all of that together. So let me grab my mouse and I'm going to go ahead and start our tutorial. So the first step is really to get the structure of our bracelet sorted out. So to do this, you'll simply grab your knitted leather cord and you're going to measure around your wrist. I tend to go a little bit on the tight side only because between the end cap and the magnetic clasp, you're adding on about 3/4 of an inch or roughly 25 millimeters extra of length to your bracelet. So I just go pretty tight, and that's where I'm going to clip it, knowing that a little bit extra is going to be added on to the end. So it'll be roughly about this big whenever it's finished. If you like a looser bracelet, then just add on a 1/4 inch or a 1/3 of an inch extra just to have a little bit of room to move around. Conversely, if you've like a tight bracelet, then you can make it shorter. I will say for this particular technique, it does require a little bit of volume. And so even if you have a bracelet that's tight to your wrist, you want to leave a little extra room for the beads to kind of move around. Okay, so let's attach one of our single strand end caps. We've got a single strand end cap here, and I'm going to go ahead and insert my knitted wire right into it. And I'm going to grab my wide nose pliers. I'm simply going to squeeze the living heck out of this. And what's great is that my pliers have a product called Tool Magic applied to it, which makes essentially a rubberized end. I do 2 coats of it, and you can find Tool Magic at any big box online or physical store, or even just search for it on the internet. But yeah, I do the 2 coats. That gives me a pretty good, I guess, security for not scratching my finding whenever I'm pressing on it. But you can press on it as hard as you want, and your finding is not going to get nicked at all. So I've got that attached now. So we'll move on to step 2. Okay, I'm going to put this down for a hot second, and I'm going to grab my wire, which, by the way, I forgot to tell you that we're using 26 gauge. vintage bronze craft wire from Softlex Company. You can use any of your preferred craft wire if you want to. I just find that theirs is quite soft and easy to use, forgiving on the hands, of course. And the 26 gauge is perfect for gemstones. So I'm going to start stringing on 8 gemstones total. This works for the 3 millimeter size. So if you're converting gemstones to seed beads, this would probably fit within the size 6 seed bead. Okay, anything smaller, you'd need to add on some extra beads. Or if it's bigger, which I think it gets to a little bit clunky if it's any bigger than 3 millimeter, but um, and I believe I did experiment with bigger beads and it just wasn't as great. So really, what I'm trying to say is I think just stick with the um, oh, that bead's a little broken. I'm going to take that out. Just stick with the 3 millimeter size. You'll definitely have an easier time with math. Okay, almost have it on here. Sometimes those holes are so tiny that it's difficult to see, but we got it. And I've got 7, so I need one more. There we go. All right, so now I've got 8, and I'm kind of sad because I took it out of the gradient that I probably had it on. That's half the fun, right? Using the gradient to your advantage for the design. So whenever you unstring it from the actual big hank that you end up getting, and just leaving the gradient on, it just makes a whole fun different effect. So once you grab the 8 gemstones, you're going to actually start to make a giant loop with it. So that's sort of what I started to do here. And you're going to wrap that short stem around the long stem a couple times. Okay, I go twice just for security and definitely want to keep this nice and tight as best as you can. So that'll be what it looks like. And I've got a couple good wraps on it. So all you do is just trim off that extra bit of wire now. You can use your chain nose pliers to fold in the raw end of that wire so it's nice and secure. Okay, so now we will move on to step 4. This is where you string your giant bead. I say giant, but this will be your 9 millimeter bead. So that looks really good. And then from there, we will string on 8 more beads. While we're doing this, everyone is doing great. If you have any questions, just let me know in the comments. Or if this video ends and future you is watching, you can always leave a comment below over on the YouTube channel. Alrighty. So I'm going to string on 8 more beads if I can see the hole. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and so I've got 8 here. Alrighty. So I've got 8, and now we're ready to go to step 6. So here, this is sort of where our figure 8 comes to fruition, I guess. We are twisting this wire back around and wrapping it just above that 9 millimeter bead. So here we go. 1, 2, and you will have a little bit of wire sticking out, but no big deal. That's the part that we're going to cut off. And there's really no graceful way to do this. So bear with me here. It's really tight to the bead. I will say that, which is a good thing. And you might end up having a little bit stick out. It's going to be really difficult to get your pliers into that. So try and trim as close as possible whenever you do this. And then you basically have your figure eight made. So the idea here is to rinse and repeat because essentially that's what you're stringing onto the leather chain. One and the other. Just like this. This creates your little fun bauble that you can move around. And you see how I was saying earlier that this technique creates volume? Well, you have those wrapping of the 3 millimeter beads plus this 9 millimeter bauble that's sort of, working itself around. So by the time you add in a bunch more, which is what we're going to do now, it's going to create that nice voluminous beaded bracelet without doing too much work, actually, because you could still see the knitted wire through it, which is pretty cool. And that's what you really do want to see is that beautiful, intricate texture. But you have that nice application of beads on top as a second layer to add movement and sparkle to your design. And these are all lovely things. So as we're doing this, I'm actually going to pan back out so that you can see the full view here as I'm putting all these little baubles on. So fun, isn't it? They just kind of move around and do their own thing. And I made a total of 7 or 8, I believe, to get myself all the way around the bracelet. Okay, so let's see. Yeah, so I've got 8 of those strung on. And now I'm ready to create my closure. So here's sort of the shot for the end. Oop. And that's what we're going for. So I want to lay this down and I want to make sure that my end caps are going to look exactly the same on each side so that whenever this is all like closed with the magnetic clasp, it's going to lay in the same direction. So I want to make sure that my logo is facing out because as you can see, the stamp is not on the inside. And I want to lay it on its side like this. So you see whenever I close this together, it's going to lay exactly the same. The seam of the crimp is facing toward us. So that's what I want to do. And that's how I'm going to crimp this. Perfect. And now it's just a matter of adding our magnetic clasp with a couple of jump rings. And of course, my magnetic clasp is going to stick to everything. So I'm going to try and keep it as tame as possible here. Okay, there we go. Not too bad. And that's it. So now I have gotten my bracelet all together and it is ready to be worn and I can be out the door. How about that? So I'm going to flip my camera back around and answer and see if there's any questions out there from you guys. Hi, Teresa. And Becky is here. Oh, she mentions an important point. If you're not a member of the Silver Silk Silkies Facebook group, please join in and you can be included in our day to day posts. She is absolutely right. This is a fantastic group of creative individuals that enjoy using Silver Silk, and we want to welcome you to our group. It is a fun place to share inspiration, to get inspired, because our creators are also influencers. I feel like they influence me to make my designs and teach the classes I do. And then in turn, I guess I inspire them. Hopefully I inspire you guys. So it's an infinite figure eight loop circle, if you will. Patty says, cool, you love the unisex design. Yeah, this kind of works with everyone, doesn't it? It's just a fun rustic design, and anyone can wear it. I love it. I don't see any outstanding questions here, outlying, outstanding, one or the other. And so I feel like hopefully I've covered everything and so have the illustrations. Um, yeah, so that's what I got for you this evening. It's a very quick, short tutorial, nice and short and sweet. And I'll be back again with another tutorial soon for you guys. The creativity just never stops at Silver Silk, and it's always my excitement and pleasure to bring that to you guys. So, in the meantime, you can shop for things at silversilkonline.com. You can check out the pop up shop for new and exclusive goodies, stuff that I've shopped for you guys from Tucson or have created custom made knitted wire chains and stuff. Just fun stuff. Alrighty. Well, I will leave you guys this evening, hopefully inspired and excited and eager to create something with Silver Silk. And as always, I will catch you guys again soon. Big hugs to you out there.